Also, looking ahead to next week, Christie, we're still watching El Salvador and how people are actually using Bitcoin for payments, and Lightning will play a crucial role in that. So maybe you can give our audience a rundown on how this is all shaking out and what to watch out for.
Yeah, one of the things that I found curious about the coverage, not on CoinDesk necessarily, but on a lot of the mainstream media, is there's focus on, can Bitcoin manage, can the network handle El Salvador and potentially other countries coming online? But very, very little has been talked about in terms of how Bitcoin is itself handling the scaling issue. And I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying that there isn't a lot that's of work that still needs to be done. And I'm glad El Salvador is on board, but also that it's not, say, the size of India. But what they are using are solutions that have scaling capabilities. For example, the Strike wallet is powered by Lightning. And Lightning is a scaling solution on Bitcoin that takes the bulk of the transactions off of the main chain, because we all know that the 1 megabyte blocks can't carry a whole lot of transaction data in each block, which only gets mined every 10 minutes or 8 minutes in this case lately. But being able to take the transactions off the main chain and put them on the Lightning Network and have those transactions go back and forth and all over the place before finally being settled on the Bitcoin blockchain really does help tremendously with the throughput and allows the number of transactions that El Salvador wants to happen off chain. That's not the only thing. They also have BitGo, which is a payment solution that enables batching transactions. So like Lightning, it enables SegWit, which takes a bunch of the transaction data, the signature data out of a transaction. It makes it lighter. You can put more transactions into a Bitcoin block. So instead of 1 megabyte, there's a theoretical 4 to 8 megabytes per block. So there are lots of solutions being done. And one of the things that you can do if you want to find out more about Lightning is next week, we have a mega report coming out from CoinDesk from our research department, and George Kalutis has put it together, and it goes into all the ins and outs of the Lightning Network, not just what works, but also where some of the vulnerabilities are and what some of the developers are working on. And it's going to be a great report, and it's really interesting to see what is being done in order to scale Bitcoin and allow for this kind of development and this kind of adoption to actually happen and work.
Fascinating stuff. All right, we'll be sure to be watching out for that report by Georgia, the CoinDesk research team. Brad, taking a look at the markets next week, seasonally, what are your thoughts on September? Traders are coming back from summer vacation. Will we see more activity this month or not?
Well, it's a similar dynamic that we're seeing kind of in the traditional markets right now. This was stocks were down this week, and a variety of things people are looking at there, from concerns about inflation to just perception that things were overheated to perception that maybe the Delta is hitting the economy a little harder than people thought. And we've got this Federal Reserve meeting coming up, not next week, but the week after that. But people really start to focus on that next week. And that, of course, is a narrative in the Bitcoin market, is, whether the Federal Reserve will keep the money printer going burr, or whether they'll start to dial that back or start to make noises about dialing that back. And the big story this week was that, John Williams, the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, gave a speech that was almost identical to Jerome Powell's at Jackson Hole, where they basically were saying, don't expect the tapering announcement in September. Now people are saying maybe December. So, that could be a tailwind for Bitcoin, actually, as that meeting approaches.
Yet sellers seem to be in control of the $50,000 resistance level. So it doesn't seem that that is going to be broken anytime soon, unless you see some tailwinds otherwise.
We talked to Matt Blom at Equinix a couple of weeks ago, and his view was just more based on kind of psychological sentiment analysis, where you had all these longtime hodlers who have been hodling Bitcoin since it was $1,000, or whatever, and they've been holding on, and the price went up to an all-time high of 65,000, and then all of a sudden we were back down at 20, and so the idea is as we get back to 50, people are like, okay, I'm definitely taking some money off the table at 50, and that's kind of the idea that 50 could be a hard cap for a little while at least.